Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a Flesh and Blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello and welcome to episode 87 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I am your host, and with me, as always, noted Battle Spirits Saga caster Chamer.
Yes, it happened again.
It's the best. It's just the best. Derek,
I don't even know why I try anymore.
I don't either. How was your weekend? I know you didn't do anything in Flesh and Blood, so we're just gonna skip that part. But how was your weekend?
I think my weekend went well overall. I was very excited to cast a pro tour. I wish it was a Flesh and Blood pro tour. Not that I dislike Battle Spirits in any way. I really enjoy the game mechanically, but and I got to work with a very good friend of mine. So Cosmic is another card game creator, and him and I have crossed paths on a number of different titles over the years. He also lives here in Michigan with me, but we've never been in the booth together. So it was our first time. That was wonderful. It was genuinely a great weekend. When I was there, I was like, man, I'm casting a pro tour and it's not Flesh and Blood. And I had mixed feelings, mostly because I love Flesh and Blood, and that's the game that kind of made me re-dive into physical card games. And so now that I've been covering physical card games, for the past year and a half or so, I want to do more of those events. And with Nats around the corner, obviously, Worlds in November, I don't know. I have this weird desire to just want to get on the mic more and more for Flesh and Blood. Now, the good news is I get to do that in December for sure, if not more. And so if you're listening and you're running an event, feel free to let me know. But I don't know. It made me realize how much I love Flesh and Blood as well, even though I had a wonderful time casting Battle Spirits, and that was a great event.
Yeah, from everything I saw online, it looked like it was really well run, and outside of some savage cheating, there was really, a kind of a no hiccups, well run event with a good cast. So, kind of props to Battle Spirits for pulling that off. However, it is a Bandai game, and everybody knows how I feel about Bandai games. So, I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah,
well, I will say this. I had the opportunity to meet some folks from Bandai because they were here for this pro tour, and then they're all staying in. They're also going to be at Gen Con. They've got a big booth planned as well as some other activities there. And it was actually really nice to talk with them. Much like when we get the opportunity to talk with LSS because they're on the other side of the planet, this is very similar, right? It's a bunch of people who normally spend their time in Japan. We don't get to talk to them every day. So it was kind of cool to talk to some of the game developers and just kind of, get to know them better, right? It's one of those things where now I can put a face to the names, and that was nice.
Yeah, I'll have to find them at Gen Con and ask them why they have a 3-year plan to kill every game they ever release. I actually played in a skirmish this weekend. It was Blitz. I played Kasai. I did not win. I lost in the semifinals. All of my losses that were actual losses were to Chain. And Chain ended up winning the tournament, so my losses all came to the person that won the event, which feels fine. But it turns out that building Chain like it's Briar is quite strong in Blitz.
Yeah.
Just balls to the walls. And it's like,
yeah,
oh, hell, this is
I've been
hard.
saying for a while now, I actually think that is the way to go with Chain and Blitz, because when you just use the Soul Shackle as a nice to have, or kind of like a get out of jail free for when you need to go again, as opposed to it being your strategy, what it allows you to do is be very aggressive from the get-go, which is what you want in Blitz. I don't think that you can really afford to kind of wait until you're at Shackle 3 or 4 when that format is as fast as it is right now. So I'm kind of happy to hear that some folks are exploring that more. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was really, because it was a lot of go again with Shackle, obviously, and then a lot of non-attack with Thorn backup. It felt like playing against Briar. And yeah. Briar with Carrion Husk is scary. That's super fucking scary. There's just no two ways. But so that was my experience. Like I said, I had a great time. I still like playing Blitz. It's a fun format, mainly because there's a hero I like in it. And yeah,
I really want to play in a skirmish this season. I have a new Zuri list for Blitz that I'm so excited that I want to pilot for this season. And with Gen Con next weekend, obviously I was doing Battle Spirits the weekend before. And then you may or may not know this, but I have another casting gig for Alpha Clash coming up soon. So I don't know when I'm going to get my opportunity. And I'm trying to figure it out because I really want to play Uzuri this season. I
have a casting gig for Alpha Clash coming up soon.
Yeah. That's what I heard. It'd be pretty cool, like if we could cross paths or something.
It'd be wild if it was the same event.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. Maybe it is. Maybe we're casting together. Who knows? We did have some. So this is one of those, we're recording on a Monday, which is usually the death knell for us, because that means I'm up all night recording and editing, and Charmer is up all night. Well, he's fucking up all night anyway. It doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
But because we delayed, we got some sauce in our news.
We got all the news for once.
Yeah, we got all the. Well, we don't know. It could be something tomorrow, because what the fuck? Why would we ever have everything? But a pussy appearance on the podcast from Derek for once. Hey, Kitty.
Yeah. She is trapped in the room with me, and so she's trying to tell me she wants me to open the door, but she's just going to get pets instead.
Oh, pets are great. We're going to start with the layup here with Calling Birmingham was this weekend.
Yeah.
This was interesting.
Yeah, let me tell you how excited I am when I get to see my two favorite heroes have such a big market share of the top 8 now. Bravo and Uzuri were not the winners, unfortunately, but we had a lot of representation of heroes that I've been saying for a while now I think are well positioned despite my biases. I know everyone, when they have their favorite hero, thinks that they're good or whatever, but when I objectively step out and I do my analysis, right, as if I was just an objective caster, I still think they're very well positioned. And so finally we got to see that in action, as well as the kind of continued reign of terror that is Icelander. It turns out when everyone thought it was going to be aggro summer, and it was supposed to be, aggro summer of the hottest year on record, and instead we've all been chilled to the bone yet again.
Yeah, so that top 8 was 3 Borvo, 2 Katsu, 1 Uzuri, 1 Azalea, and then the winner, Icelander, Samuel Braben, over Pablo Pintor playing Bravo in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that Icelander exists to prey on the aggressive decks in theory, right? This one didn't just do that. It beat Bravo in the hands of the first Pro Tour winner in the finals.
So, and I can, as somebody who's got a lot of time, I can actually tell you probably why this is the case. So Icelander, when I was playing Bravo at the last calling that I piloted Bravo at, Indy. Yep. I was doing very well on the day, but when I bubbled out essentially and fell out of day 2 contention, it's because I lost to, a little player you may or may not know, Caleb Van Patten. Sometimes he goes by Majin Bay. He's kind of a good
kind of
player.
A big deal.
Yeah. Also a good friend of mine. But even before that, like when him and I were talking, I had already told him that during all of my testing at that time, the one deck I was afraid of on Bravo, believe it or not, is Icelander. While she's very good at hitting the aggressive decks, what she also does is forces you to be the aggressor as a Guardian when you kind of traditionally don't want to, because if you go ultra slow, a smart Icelander will play for second cycle and go with like a Frost Hex combo that you just can't stop. It does not matter how much Arcane Barrier you have. You could literally have like AB5 with 12 pitch, right? 4 blues in hand, will not matter when they pull the combo off. So that forces you to be the aggressor against good pilots. And when that happens, normally you want to be aggressive, I think, anyway, on Bravo as opposed to an Oldhim, because you want to take advantage of your crush effects. And obviously your hero ability is an offensive one for a reason, which means the dominates. But what you gain from being aggressive is disruption. The problem is 9 out of 10 of your disruption options are for other aggressive decks. They're not for wizards. So what you're doing is you're overpaying for damage that is not matching what you're paying for. When you go to the sideboard, you can make it better with Zealous Beltings and Lightning Strikes. I've got an entire like sideboard that I have specifically for that matchup, and it helps close the gap, but I just still don't even think it would make you favored. So I'm not surprised when I see that there were 3 Bravos in the top 8 that an Icelander won, because that's a really good matchup for Icelander. Now, I will say when you're on Bravo, I think right now into the field, you are probably even or favored into most of your other lists, but that one is going to be a bit of a problem. The other one that can give you a problem, it's kind of draw dependent and player skill dependent, is Dromai, which I'm very surprised there were no Dromais that made the top 8.
Yeah, no Dromais in the top 8, no Lexis in the top 8. There were several Lexis in the top 32.
Yeah.
But they were, none of them closed out to get to the top 8. So that's sort of fascinating as far as that goes. And, you know, I think we're at a point now where we can accept that Icelander is just a good deck. And
yeah, I mean, you know, it's the world champion deck and all that for a reason, I guess. But
well, I mean, but like people were like, okay, well, Icelander had some bans and then its best matchups are gone. And then, you know, so the excuses started ranging pretty wide, you know, widely with, okay, well, maybe she's just bad now, right? With bans and with the matchup changes, but that's not the case. So for the first time that Rhea Adams won with Icelander, was like, okay, well, got lucky in matchups or whatever. The second time Rhea won, it was like, well, okay. The third time that Icelander wins a main event in a row on a weekend, I think that you have to go, we're in for a cold summer if this is the case.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think what most people were, you know, operating under the assumption of is that Icelander would be kind of punished by Dromai, right? What I frequently hear from players is that with the aggressive Dromais especially, but even the ones where you can get a bunch of your little dragons out, which sets up the arcane barrier, you're heavily favored or whatever. But the thing about Icelander is she's still also really versatile. You can go the full wizard package, or you can go with the Bowlander, where you do have a bunch of potential poppers as well, right? So even if you want to do kind of a hybrid where you have some of that stuff in your board for the Dromai matchup, I don't think it's as one-sided as people make it out to be at times. And then when you compare it to the rest of the field, the aggressive decks, she had already been kind of good against historically, and there's this new Warmongers card. I don't know if you've seen it, but it turns out that's really good, especially with a hero who can play it as an instant, and it does everything that hero wants it to do anyway, on top of being a 3-block where, you know, most of the time the 2 blocks are an issue because of the ice, right? So I think that, yeah, there were some bans, but when you look at what the meta has kind of become recently, as well as the inclusion of Warmongers, it is really back to being strong. Yeah,
I agree. There's also some interesting, what is also interesting in all of this is with the 3 weekends worth of wins, Icelander's kind of in the LL danger zone now. She's sitting at 762 with 200 points worth of worlds coming and 44 different Nats events. There's a chance that we may be looking at a fresh format come October.
I've seen some folks joking that we might see Icelander LL before Briar, which just cracks me up.
I mean, so thinking through this a little bit, with no RTN or ProQuest season in between, Briar has to win 1 Nationals to get over the hump. 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we took it as a foregone conclusion that Briar would win I think 12 RTNs that Briar needed to win, or something along those lines. Maybe it was more than that. but it was a small number compared to the greater population of RTNs to get over, and that didn't happen. So now the question becomes, well, it needs to go 1 and 43 on any of these events.
I think it's so here's the thing. Like, on the one hand, there's a part of me that goes, no, that's like absolutely silly that she can't win one. But then when I look at what the really popular decks are in the meta, I actually think it's entirely possible that she doesn't win one. When people slowly come around to the realization that I've been on, that turns out Bravo is actually pretty good, and it's good into decks that want to go again, and got even better with the addition of Starstruck when you already have Spinal Crush and all those other things. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Briar, but I think to your greater point, yeah, we might be looking at really a new era just in general of Flesh and Blood, which will be interesting. It'll still feel like old Flesh and Blood because a lot of the like Welcome to Wrath stuff will still be hanging around as like the backbone of the game. But with most of the Aria, or what I will describe as Aria themed heroes, because I know that technically Icelander wasn't like fully released until Uprising, but when I think of Aria heroes, I still think of her because of the ice, right? So we might be looking at a future at some point that's not that far away where we have no Oldhim, no Briar, potentially no Icelander, and let's be honest, we could see Lexi climb the charts as well if she decides to be really popular. I still think that she's good enough to win some events. So when you start taking them out of the picture, it is a wide open format for constructed Flesh and Blood.
Lexi's sitting at 400, so she's still quite a ways away.
She's quite a ways away, right, in the grand scheme. But what I'm saying is it's entirely possible, I'll put it this way, that she could win Worlds, right?
Sure.
If she wins, 20% of the nationals and is also the hero that ends up winning Worlds, then
gone.
When I say like the next era of Flesh and Blood is like sooner than you think, what I'm really saying is it's about like mid next year is when I think we might be hitting the point where we just don't have a lot of the Aria themed heroes, at least in their original incarnations. And what does Flesh and Blood look like at that point, right? We don't know. We've kind of been in this for so long that I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, we kind of did get a little bit of a glimpse of what it will look like, because the October set was announced while we were, doing nothing today, where we didn't record yesterday for once. And so we get to talk about this and not have it be old news when we finally get to it. So,
and I'm excited to talk about this because there's a lot to talk about.
This is wild.
I know that's not what you wanted to hear, because you want this to be a short episode so that
I knew it wouldn't be. It's fine.
but we have to hit this one pretty hard, because listen, gang, I don't know what's happened in Flesh and Blood lately, but I remember when we were all excited when we got A, new news, and B, when we got the developers kind of like listening to us, or at least willing to try new things. And when I saw this announcement, I was like, hey, this sounds really cool. And I kept immediately seeing, now I'm not saying this is like bad or doomer, but it wasn't what I was taking as a positive statement. People kept saying, I don't know how this is going to go over from a player engagement standpoint. And what I'm hearing is that because they don't play Mechanologist, they were not excited for the set. And I fully understand that. Let me start by saying I get it, because Flesh and Blood is a hero-centric game. It's one of the reasons that all of us fell in love with it. And when you're not getting stuff for your hero, it can be a turnoff. I would love more assassin stuff. I, full stop, would welcome it with open arms. However, what I see with this set is two things. One, them willing to try something new. And while this might be a low engagement for the kinds of sets where you want to open up a bunch of the product for everyone, what I'm actually seeing is, if this is some kind of like long-term shift, what we have are draft sets that are way better in my mind, where you don't have everybody kind of like, I pick two, all just slamming whatever hero it is, and then you could have a robot draft for you. Like, Uprising, what was the big feedback, right? By like pick 2 or 3, you had to decide, and then you were just like all in. You had to take the signals and go. Yeah. That is not the case when we're all playing the same class. The other reason that I think that this is them at least trying something new and where they're listening is, what is the other thing we always hear? And that is that the game can be expensive. And when you release something for every hero, every set, we're all stuck buying stuff for every set. And when the cards keep going up in value and whatever, that can feel rough. We're all just digging into our wallet all the time. That might not be the case here. And while, yes, that means it might be a little bit lower for player engagement outside of limited formats, what it also means is that we as the players get to better spend our money. From a consumer standpoint, I actually think this is a win for us. Like, this is not business centric. And I think we're all just so used to Wizards of the Coast beating us all the time that we are weirded out when something different happens. But what this says to me is like, hey, if I know that like I love to play Assassin, and you know, every once in a while I'll get an Assassin themed set, and that's when I can like dump my wallet, I'm way more likely to go all in on those sets and then maybe some of the supplemental ones, as opposed to where I am now, where I'm buying like 2 cases of every release and then having to fill in my collection and do all these other things that I'm going to be honest, like I just don't like to do. I don't like to play stock market TCG where I'm buying and selling, and I just want to buy what I want for my heroes to play the game. If this sticks and that's what they decide to do long term, great for us. I think, again, that's a win for the consumer. It also could just be a one-time thing where they're trying it out. Why not just try to be a little bit innovative? And if it falls flat, you can go back to the old model. Nothing's stopping you. But I don't understand why so many folks are like so timid about this, right? Like I think it's good. That's where I'm at.
This soliloquy brought to you by Bright Lights, the newest expansion set from Flesh and Blood that we still haven't fucking talked about yet because you decided to go on a goddamn tangent for the last 5 minutes.
It's not a tangent. It's all relevant. I'm also excited about the set because it's all mechanologist. And
so yes,
look, you see this right here? Iron Man chair. My oldest son literally named Stark. So
yeah, no, I get it.
When I can fly around in my armor suit, I'm going to do it.
Yep. So this is a draftable mechanologist set in metrics. They dumped a ton of info on us. So big old info dump incoming. So we already know that the pre-releases for this set will be September 29th through October 2nd. And then the wide release is October 6th. The packs are your normal distribution for the most part. So one thing that they are doing differently is they're doing a thing called expansion slots in packs. So the purpose of the expansion slot is sometimes it'll replace a token effectively, same as a cold foil. 1 in 15 packs, I believe, is the ratio that they threw out there, roughly. And this is supposed to serve as an avenue to reprint cards without having to reprint them in sets. So a way to get cards out there without having to print them in a supplemental set, but without having to introduce them into a draft set. So think of things like Swarming Gloomveil, where it only fits in a Runeblade set, but it's sort of cost prohibitive at whatever they are right now. I haven't looked at them recently, but if or a Swing Big is another one where they're expensive. We'll probably see a Swing Big reprint. My guess is when we hit Savage Lands, but that's an example again of another card where you don't need the class if you have these expansion slots, right? Or
because Tunic is in there, I'm not opposed to us seeing more generics as well. Like we haven't seen Enlightened Strike outside of History Pack, so that's one of the ones I would expect to potentially be in there. Maybe Art of War, whatever.
So we know that Tunic is one of the cards that can be found in the expansion slot. So we know that there are legendaries in there that are possible. We don't know the possible list. We don't know the size of the possible list, as far as I know. I do have concerns about this, just because this is something that Magic has been doing with a process called the list, and the list are a list of cards that can appear in what they call set boosters. I'm not going to get into the booster breakdowns of Magic. It will make your fucking head spin. And honestly, it's just not worth the time. Just know that they are packs that are not draftable. So if you open a list card, it's a reprint of an older card with a single little itty bitty symbol in the bottom left corner that differentiates it between the original printing and the list printing. But the problem with the list, and it's a rotating list of cards they do add and subtract from it, is that the majority of it is just dog shit. It's just toilet paper with hits here and there. So the list being curated isn't curated to like solve a problem. It's just, hey, look at what we have on the list. And it's like, well, I mean, most of this is a who gives a fuck. But I would be really upset if that's the tack they took here. If like one of the cards like in their expansion slot was like Snatch or something. It's like, really? Like, it's are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that personally, just because it's only one in every 15. So I might be wrong, but I would expect this to be only Majestics or higher in terms of rarity. Because when you go lower than that, even for the older sets, like what does anybody have trouble getting a hold of?
Right. And that's my concern though.
Maybe like maybe super rare would be like,
that's a Majestic, and it's a Majestic and history pack, so just call it a Majestic.
Yeah.
But
just want to be clear, you know.
No, sure, but I mean, some things it would starts to make a little bit of sense, like Sink Below. Like Sink Below is still, for a common, holds some value because it's a 3 of in a ton of decks. Because it's as or more above rate than Jordan Kennedy, for God's sakes. It's just it's exactly what you are looking for in a lot of cases. But my real concern with this process is how well the list is curated, and if they have rarity cycles in the list as well. Now, what you're describing, if it's just Majestics and Legendaries and maybe Fableds, which is I get it, but at the same time, it's a little disconcerting.
Listen, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I would be in favor of them in this expansion slot printing non-foil Fables, if that was the way they wanted to do it. Because it's still 1 in 15, and with the distribution, it would still preserve some level of rarity, but it would also hopefully up the playability of them, because that has always been a concern of mine. Is that, you know, when those become playable and then thus also inaccessible, that creates an artificially large barrier to entry. Again, I know that I very well could be in the minority on that, because there's a lot of folks I know that love the kind of like uniqueness and feel of them, especially with the gem ones and things like that. I get it. I just, at the end of the day, I want people to play the cards they want to play with. And so I will err on that side personally.
Sure. Like I'm okay with that, in the respect that if they only put the gems in there, like the 3 original gems, that doesn't feel good. If they went deep and put every gem or every Fabled in there up to, Aria or even Everfest, like, so basically History Pack 2, that feels fine, right? Like, where you can you have six different, is it 6 different gems at that point? Yeah, or 6 different Fableds, yeah. So 2 locations and 4 gems.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's fine, but you'd have to still rarity cycle them. You can't.
Oh yeah, no, and that's why I was
as likely as anything else.
No, that's why I was saying if they also did the distribution within already being 1 in 15 packs. So
sure,
yeah, like it would be a non-foil one, but we're also still talking, one every X number of cases at that point, right? It's not going to be like, oh wow, everybody gets one. At some point I would like to see non-foil versions of those make it somewhere.
Sure.
Where, I don't know, but this, because it's already so lightly distributed, I would like to see it. And I'll be honest, part of the other reason I kind of want to see the non-foil ones is that I know within the competitive community, there is a lot of concern about like playing with the foils because you don't want to be hit with the marked card thing, right?
Yes.
So being able to jam in one of your like non-foil options would be, I think, very welcome to some of the competitive players.
The cold foils don't warp. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, sure. For all of us who own our cold foil heart and want to play it in Icelander.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
It makes sense for Icelander to have cold foils, right?
Yeah.
You made me like this. This is your fault. Okay.
You know what? Real quick. I got Cosmic to make 2 puns over the weekend, and he was like, "What have you done?" And I was like, "You have no idea how strong my power is."
It's the shittiest thing. Nobody knows who you are, but we all fucking hate you for the same reason.
Yep.
God damn it. Okay, so we're going to talk through some spoilers here. So the first one we're going to talk through is the man himself, the proprietor of Teklo Industries. Teklo Vossen, esteemed magnate, is the adult version, which is Benedict Cumberbatch as a Flesh and Blood card.
It's Benedict Cumberbatch as Iron Man.
Correct. And then the young version is just Teklo Vossen, which is Matt DeMarco as a Flesh and Blood card. So
author of The Stoic.
Oh, yeah, author of The Stoic, stand-up comedian, noted philanthropist, and missionary, in case anybody didn't know. But and Slumlord. Forgot about Slumlord. So the text on this card to me is, without knowing what some of these things do, we do know what they do, right? We know what some of this stuff does. But reading the text itself is kind of fucking wild. Now, both of these are your standard 440 and 420 heroes. But this has text on that makes you go, well, what the hell does that even mean? So these were the cards I read first. So like everything was kind of, I read them in the correct order when I was looking through this. I was like, what the shit is happening? So the text on this one is, you may play Evos from your banish zone. Don't know what that is. We do, but when I read this. And then once per turn instant, 3 red disc, as Borvo likes to say. You may play your next Evo this turn as though it were an instant when you do draw a card. We'll get to Evos in a moment because we do have another card. This one being a Majestic. And also, did you notice that Teklo Vossen Esteemed Magnate is a Majestic?
I did, yes.
Okay. That's weird to me, but we'll have to approach that from a different angle.
Yeah.
We also have the Terminator tank. Now, this is actually already in the running for my favorite Flesh and Blood art because it's a giant fucking mech.
It looks, when you hear the words Terminator tank, whatever you just pictured in your head, this is what it probably looks like.
Yeah, this is just what it looks like. Like, if you haven't seen the art and you're just hearing this for the first time, whatever you think it looks like, yep, you got it. It's pretty close to that. I will give you the bipedal tank as a keyword there, but otherwise,
listen, somebody who spent the weekend saying card names like Dual Gun Mech Lord Derm Dyna, I am prepared to cover this set. So LSS, if you're hearing me, I can cover mechs. I've been doing it. I'm ready to go.
So this is a 6 cost, 6 attack, 3 block. If you have 1 or more Evos equipped, this gets, when this hits a hero, they discard a card. Okay, that's a thing. If you have 2 or more, this costs 3 less to play. So now it's a 3 for 6. Not bad.
With discard.
With discard, yeah. On hit
you
discard.
Can pummel.
Correct. If this has if you have 3 or more Evos, this gets overpower. Which everybody forgot what that means anyway, so whatever.
Can only be blocked with 1 action card.
From hand. And I think it's from hand. Maybe it's just 1 in general. I don't remember if Down and Dirty affects that or not. And then 4 or more. So if you have the full Badoogie of Evos, this gets +3. So this at 4 becomes a 3 cost, 9 attack with overpower on hit discard. So it's a guardian card if you're fully set up.
Yeah.
Built-in pummel, basically. Yellow pummel, but still pummel. Pretty good rate-ish as long as you build your Voltron correctly. But what are Evos? So this becomes where things get a little bit more interesting. So the one we know, the one that exists, is Evo Steel Soul Memory, which sounds like a Battle Spirits card. It is a blue pitch, 4 cost, 3 block, Mechanologist Action Equipment Evo Base Head.
That sounds like an EDM group.
Right. I mean, the base head alone. Maybe we can start that one up. Just a lot of wub-wubs in that one. If you have a base head equipped, transform into this, then equip this. So this is if you play it. This is an action, so you do have to have an action point to do this, unless you pay the cost with Teklovasin. When you transform from or into an Evo with a different name, your hero gets +1 defense, +1 intellect until end of turn. So this converts into an Evo, and you get +1 intellect.
Yeah. So what I like about this is that what it's really doing is it's saying, all right, you're basically spending a card to equip it. And so while you're going down net 1 card this turn, you're making up for it next turn, right?
Yep. The more interesting part, though, is that then it has temper. So this is the first time we're kind of seeing this in a dual mode fashion, where this can block from hand as an action, so you can just block with it. But when it's equipped, that block value now becomes block value.
Yeah. 3, then 2, then 1.
And then Yahtzee or whatever. And then when this blows up, theoretically, you can find another way to do these things, is what it seems like. To get another thing out.
Yeah. So when
these aren't legendary either.
Yeah. So when I look at this, the card type itself still has the word Evo, right?
Yep.
And base.
And base
That's
head.
the other part. Base head, right? So base, if you're kind of trying to figure out why base head is a thing, or base chest, because there's one for each slot, it means that like your armor is meant for further installments. So you can't put this on a Crown of Providence, for example, right? Can't put it on a normal head. It's got to be a base head.
Base head.
But because this is its own base head, what I see is like I can equip this and block for 3 and then block for 2. And then before I block for 1, while I still have it equipped, I can just cover this up with another copy of this.
But you don't get the intellect effect.
Right. Because it has to be a different name at that point. Right. However, what we don't know is whether or not there are, for example, more than one of these heads where you could go back and forth.
Yep. We don't know. And that's very interesting too. How do you get a starting base head is something you may ask. So you've got 8 choices for base equipments that can be starting equipment. You have proto base head, proto base chest, proto base arms, proto base legs. These are token, effectively rarity. Any player may add these to their card pool in a Bright Lights Limited format. They're 0 block. They don't do anything outside of just occupy this space. Additionally, there are Teklo base head, Teklo base chest, Teklo base arms, and Teklo base legs, which have blade break and 1 block per. So these are your constructed playable ones, right?
Yeah, they're also promos.
Yeah, they are release celebration promos, and they're pretty good. So that's fascinating in and of itself as far as the bases go. So that's how you get to your starting your chain of your Evos, is by using basically this really shitty equipment to then have really good equipment.
Yeah, so there's real quick, two more things I want to highlight about this before we like fully transition away. The first is the CC versions of the base equipment all have blade break, which means if you don't find your Evo stuff to transform them ahead of time, if you're ever put in a position where you have to use them, or when we start talking about mechanologist stuff, when you're in the mirror and you use any of those cards that force people to block with equipment, what you might be able to do is eat a piece before they can upgrade it, which would leave them high and dry, right?
Well, not necessarily, because you could block with these in the mirror, and then if you had another one in hand, you would activate Teklevasen as an instant and then play your Evo with the base still on the chain.
But that's why I'm saying, like, when you don't have when you don't find them, right? So in the mirror, when you don't find them in time, there will be ways to punish it, right? The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that Evo Steel Soul Memory has blocked out text. We don't know
we don't know if it's blocked out text or if that's just them having fun with a barcode, but it looks like blocked out text to me.
It looks like blocked out text. Like it kind of looks like a barcode, you're right, but because it like is not continuous, it like overlaps a layer. What I'm interpreting that is it does something else on top of what we've already seen, and now I want to know what it is.
Right. Like there's also they've entered two more things really quick is they're now introducing a mechanic called crank, so that they describe that as making items more playable than ever, and that there are 30 items in the set. So that's already interesting that they're making this very item based, which isn't too surprising. But if it's just items and isn't mechanologist items, we start to look at things like the potions and such from Everfest again with new eyes. So that will be interesting. The last thing is something that is going to kind of move, blow past. They're doing a thing called Crack Shuffle Play, which is a 3-pack casual format where you just crack the deck, remove the tokens and equipment, shuffle your 3-packs together and play. We've literally been doing this in Iowa forever right at this point. We call it Sack Pack because Rodiberg is a legend, and that if you've ever seen Dagon wandering around with that obnoxious fucking belt on, it's because he has one Sack Pack, which is basically playing this format. So yeah. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, did we mention like what we know regarding the heroes of the set? Because that was kind of mentioned in the I was going to mention in the IGN article, we know we get 3 heroes this set. They're all obviously mechanologists. But what they had also said was that they've got this Evo mechanic, and then they have items, and then they have boost as like the 3 core tenets of the mechanologist class. And each one of the new heroes will prefer one of those, but they're also all important pieces because they wanted everything to be like intertwined when you play this in any of the limited formats. But it is interesting because what I see is obviously Teklevasen is going to be our Evo person. Dash, I assume, is items because historically that's what she's been. We did also get
Dash is boost historically.
Well, but so here's the reason why I think she's supposed to be items, which is that her hero ability is go get an item. I know we use her with boost, but when you think about what her hero does, right? Teklevasen's hero is Evo based. When you look at Dash's hero text, it's go search for an item.
I think we get
at least
adult data doll, and adult data doll is your items.
That could be. We might get adult data doll as well. We did also get art for Dash. I don't know if you got to see it, but it's fantastic. Like the adult Teklevasen and whatever this new Dash is, both look gorgeous. If you're any sort of fan of like steampunk, you are in heaven right now.
These are exactly for you. So yeah, massive data dump for all this stuff. It's juicy. I'm happy that we have it now. For those who are going to care about spoiler season, it starts on September 22nd. Don't know why I even mention it, but it's also interesting that we got 7 legendaries and 9 marvels again. I'm gonna guess that the marvels are the evos. That'd be my take, but kind of a who knows, right? We don't know for sure. This is still English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish for languages, so no Japanese for this set as of yet. They have released a roadmap
Yes.
for Japanese releases, but we are not at that spot yet. So that was a lot. Moving past... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick as well. Given what we know about Worlds, if you are going to be attending, I assume that this is going to be the set that we will be playing for the limited calling. So while you might not be a mechanologist fan, you may still want to familiarize yourself with this set if that is where you plan on participating.
Gotcha. Sounds good to me. Want to remind everybody that the Salt Lake City Brawl is this weekend with kayfabe cards. You will have a Blitz Super Armory on Friday night at kayfabe cards in Salt Lake City. Then your classic constructed 5K on Saturday, followed by a Blitz Battle Hardened on Sunday. There will, do I even know that there's a speakeasy party on Saturday night? I guess I'm not even sure now. They're going to import, or they've hired Electric Light Orchestra cover band, DC Voltage Illumination Symphony to play on the Salt Flats. That's what we're gonna say it is. I really don't have anything else to add on that one. It should be a fun event for everybody going. I think that everybody will enjoy themselves. There will be coverage of the event as per usual. So please, if you're not going to be able to make it, tune into the stream. We'll be on the Realm Games Twitch channel as well as YouTube, and watch the event live. It's going to be another classic constructed barn burner. See if Icelander gets even closer, keeps inching their way there. Who knows? We also have the 20K Realm Invitational Weekend that will be December 1st through 3rd in Columbus. So that's a 20K Invitational that starts on Friday. So if you are invited, we will have the point standings and such linked in the show notes and continually link them as we go. And then there will be a 5K minimum Brawl on Saturday and then a 2K Blitz on Sunday. So full weekend of events, plus there will be some other just random degeneracy going on with some other properties, some other card games, as well as an absurd cosplay contest that is being planned out right now. So honestly, this is probably going to be the best party of the year, and I would highly advise that you be there. That is my advice to you from me. Show up. Show out. It's going to be a good time, and it really doesn't matter what game you like playing. They're all probably going to be played. Moving on, let's get some listener questions out of the way. This first one's from Vintox. Vintox says, with the creation of Demi Heroes, it opens the door for so much design space based off the lore and or gameplay needs. One example might be Shiana's encounter with the Council in lore. What do you think of the Demi Hero mechanic now that we've seen it at a couple of events? And if you could design a Demi Hero, what would it be? Well, my brain's melted, Charmer. Go for it.
I've actually been thinking a lot about the Demi Hero thing, and there's a part of me that wonders if maybe when they designed this for Levia, they had already kind of had it in the pipeline, or if this was like a lesson learned thing from Star of the Show. Because I could have seen a world where with Bravo, he like ascends to being Star of the Show. Now that one's a bit harder just because like from his deck building standpoint, the entire gimmick is like you get to put all the elements in. But I guess what I mean is that when you have something like of that level of power, you would, I think, rather make the player kind of work toward getting it, right? So I would love to see something with the light and the shadow heroes, because I think that they lead more toward the kind of transformational aspect, whether it means like Prism literally becoming an angel, or somebody other than Leviah doing the thing. Another one that we might see, and if it's not Demi Hero, maybe it's something else, but I would like to see something with the mechanologists where, like, if you assemble the suit, like, you are just permanently transformed, where you make yourself a machine, like, entirely transfer consciousness or whatever, right? I think that would be kind of a cool way to go about it. Maybe that's a lore thing with the data doll, like you eventually download yourself directly into the data doll. I don't know, but I want to say the words Earth Brute, but I feel
please fucking don't. Will you not?
I don't feel like that's the right spot for the Demi Hero thing, because again, you want to be able to deck build ahead of time. So when it comes to the elemental tags, I don't think that's it. I do think maybe long term it would also be kind of cool if you could turn yourself into a literal dragon if you're Dromai, for example, something like that. But Earth Brute,
yeah, no, I think the Demi Hero thing is interesting and well designed in the fact that it's not free. It does take setup. It's complicated to get to a spot that makes sense to use it. Sometimes you're playing the angle. It's hard to play, but it's hard to play both sides of it. So it's very difficult to be both setting up Leviah Redeemed and setting up Plasma Fed at the same time and pick whichever one's better. It's not easy to do that. It's a very complex play pattern to find your end game. So your checkmate scenarios when it comes to playing these cards are steeper or harder to get to. So I think that's just good design, and I think it's useful down the road. Again, what I would design is I don't know. Like, the obvious one is like Prism is basically the cop version of Sailor Moon or something, where she's transforming into something, greater or whatever. There's really not a ton of space otherwise, unless they do make Lena Bell, they make the Alchemist, and you have a variety of different ways to to go Jekyll and Hyde or whatever. Or you have you build an assassin that is, Zuri is a good example where you can kind of flip between the two different play styles with a ninja Zuri that can turn into a ninja assassin Zuri that turns into a different ninja assassin with a pool. I honestly don't know. None of these sound great to me. I think they've already kind of walked a million miles in the design space of what's out there right now, but they certainly could certainly press this further if they chose to. But I think the Leviah was a good first choice, honestly. They did a good job with it. They really thought their way through it, and it's mechanically complex.
What I would like to see in the future is actually none of the existing heroes. I want perhaps a set maybe themed around it at some point in the future, where the design of the heroes warrants more Demi Heroes for a real reason. I think that's why I was struggling with the actual answers, because I don't think any of the existing heroes fit it well. But just hear me out. If you had ever some sort of desire to design a werewolf or something similar, right? Or some other shape changer that's not, Chiana, obviously, because we know they exist in the universe. So maybe that's a place where you could explore it, whatever
shapeshifter's
your boat.
Yeah.
I think that's where you would want to really kind of put that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, if they ever did a more gothic horror style Flesh and Blood set, it would probably just be, Flesh and Blood has already taken a significant amount of my money. so I really don't need to do the take my money meme with them. They've already got it. But I think that would be something that would tickle a lot of people in that same way that like the Mechanologist set does.
I know that it's just entirely like, I get that it's a stereotype thing and it's something that's been done a million times over, but like, I'll be honest, if you were to give me a set where like one person turns into a wolf and you've got a vampire that turns into a bat or whatever, like, I'm just going to be in. I love werewolves. I'm that sucker, you know? And if you give me that flesh and blood art where they're not afraid to kind of get in with the gore, like, come on.
Give me the brutality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I'm fully in on the flesh and blood gothic horror set. So LSS, if you're listening, you have 2 ready and willing designers right now to make this a reality. Moving on, going to Big Lou, good friend Big Lou. Have you ever played Boxing League or Bennies? I've seen these become more popular at side events at MTG events lately, and I don't see why they can't work for Fab, especially at certain events by, like, say, The Realm. For those who don't know, Boxing League is when you buy a box of a set, build a deck around a hero from the set, then battle it out. Bennies, this one is interesting to me. I've never done this one. Bennies is you have 1 hour to deck build and have a $100 cap to use for the whole deck. Go around to vendors, build the best possible deck, no ban list. There is the possibility for some degenerate shenanigans, which we all love. Curious for your thoughts. Okay. So the Boxing League, I mean, I love these types of things, honestly. I love the challenge that's involved in these things, as well as the lottery ticket aspect. I think it's fun. Like, that's just how I feel about them.
I mean, if we're talking about like also being able to go around vendors though, and you have like the $100 cap, I want to say what I would do, but I also kind of don't want to, because I wouldn't want to
I've
share
already got ideas, right?
What my spicy tech would be. Because I immediately thought of a couple of things, like, oh, you mean I can do that and it's cheap?
Cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah, it costs nothing. I already know what I'm on. Like, I already know.
Yeah, you and I are probably on the exact same
page. Yeah, we're on the same page. It's like, it costs nothing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's $100. Ship it. Like, that's gonna be the easiest slam dunk.
Let me put it this way, and I'm pretty sure Logan and I are on the same thing. I could build for less than $100 if we're talking with these restrictions, all right, no ban list. I could build a deck for less than $100 that would be better than any CC deck that you're allowed to play right now.
100%. Like, yep, we are in the same spot.
Yep.
It's gonna cost me, well, let me think here. The most expensive card in
I bet I could get it done for less than 50 even. Like, it's not expensive to do.
So I'm gonna have to sub out a chess piece.
But like, there's already a really good common equivalent.
Yeah, there really is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you really missing with this list other than, you know, the staple, like Command and Conquers and Lightning Strikes or whatever? Sure, but like, you can do without those and not even miss them.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not playing those.
I'm just saying, if you wanted them for the sideboard or something, because there were times where whatever, but
yep,
like,
the headpiece costs nothing now. The the equipment suite itself is, you have to swap out a chest because Tunic obviously is coming. You can't do a Tunic on $100 budget, but the rest of the deck costs nothing. Like,
yeah,
actually nothing. Yep. Alright. Yep. Ship it. As long as I can acquire the cards.
Yep.
That's actually the difficult part. So I need to make sure that min-max is at the event.
Yeah. So
they will bring it.
If you want to know what we are mind melding to each other right now, you will have to find us in person. I might be willing to share.
I probably would. I'd probably share.
This is your incentive. Like, if you see either of us walking around Gen Con, for example,
yeah,
say hello.
I mean, 1, I'll have Alpha Clash promos. 2, you can then pick my brain and be like, okay, well, what would you build? And I will flat out tell you what I would do. Pretty sure. I mean, okay, I got to check one card or two cards. Sorry. So if these are under what, $70 total, I'm good.
I think you're good.
Okay. I think we're good there.
I think you're good.
Then,
if I had to guess anyway, I haven't checked prices recently, but I think you're good. Oh my.
So it's 80, but I think I still can get under.
Okay, here's the thing though, right? Like one of the legends that I want to run, like the legendary, is currently available for $9.
$9. Mm-hmm.
So we good.
Yeah, we're chilling.
We so good.
Yeah, we're chilling. No big deal.
Yeah, we got your back for this format. If you want to know, just find us. We got you.
Yeah, it's going to cost you absolutely nothing. Well, we made it in a reasonable amount of time. I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, even with my soapbox rant.
It was very soapboxy.
I know. I get so fired up because like when we get new stuff, like I guess I look at it like this, right? Like you can be upset about it, or like you can just choose joy in your life. And as somebody who is depressed all the time, why not choose joy?
I will freely admit that these types of sets do move me, or are beginning to move me off of my desire to own play sets of everything. I look at this set and I'm just like, well, okay. Do I really need to be completionist anymore? Am I satisfied being completionist for effectively, because I won't play light heroes really either. Am I really okay being completionist from WTR all the way through Outsiders, or do I keep grinding? What do I do, right? And it's, it's a real question. I will probably pay attention to the sets, and then because like I'm still not set complete on Dusk Till Dawn. I'm not.
I am not either, but I also haven't like got all of my stuff that I wanted yet. Sure. Like in terms of like sealed product. Like I knew I wanted to open more, but with everything going on, I only opened my one case that made me sad.
But yeah, but that's the thing is we can't all have Britain cases. But what's made me like, I don't feel a pressing need to. So one, I don't have any events really that I'm going to be playing until actual December. Is like with maybe like a Battle Hardened or two. And if I decide to go to Dallas potentially, but those are all like the next Battle Hardened I would consider is Columbus, but I don't think I'll be there. That's the one in September, and then Milwaukee in October, maybe. And then Dallas, but those are all like, but Milwaukee is release weekend for Bright Lights, and Dallas is after that. So I've got this entire like breadth of time where I'm not really playing any events. So I don't feel like I'm in any sort of rush to get it done. So it's just kind of sitting over there. I just, as I've had prize packs, I've been filtering in the Majestics I'm missing, and that's it. I've got my Dyadic Carapace. I think I'm still missing one Funeral Moon of all things. But that's all I'm missing for Runeblade, and I'm missing a Leviathan Redeemed for building Shadow Brute and a couple of cards. But all honesty, there again, I'm not in any rush to go get them. So yeah, I we may be approaching the time where, especially as I become more involved with things like Alpha Clash and things like Star Wars Unlimited. Yes.
All right, so a couple of things. We got updates because, as you said, we might still get more news. There are two things I want to point out. One, Mothership shared an article from our good friend Brody Spurlock. We stan Brody Spurlock in this house.
We stan Brody Spurlock.
I highly recommend reading it. I just did a quick skim, and it seems to be about, you know, how to handle your emotions and your growth as a person and as a player. It looks like a fantastic read, so I'm looking forward to giving it the full read here in a moment.
Kid Wonderbread is quite
he's fantastic. I love Brody. One of the other things is Bryn, who you also mentioned, has tweeted a confirmation of what I had suspected, right? So when you are looking at the image from the website for Evo Steel Soul Memory, they have a censored width portion like in the web address. So it is very clearly censoring part of the card text. It's not just a barcode thing. So we do have more to come on Evo Steel Soul Memory.
Yes, that's awesome. And honestly, yes, echoing, yes, we stand Brody Spurlock in this house 1,000%. Kid Wonderbread is a fantastic human, fun as hell. Watching him completely own Flake on the Monarch box cracking game. I don't know if you caught that. Did you see that?
I don't think so.
So they're doing the thing where, you know, whoever guesses the cold foil in the box wins the box or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, I do remember this now. Yeah, I was in chat because when they said guess the cold foil, if you go back, you can see me say that the cold foil is Wampa Radio. Because I, of course, wanted to drop Flake and I's project while I could.
free ad. So,
hashtag free ads.
Hashtag free ad. But, yes, so Brody had cracked a cold foil and we didn't know what it was, and Flake wasn't paying attention, so he slid it under. So Flake was like, this is what we got, this ironhide helm, so this person wins. And then Brody's like, but that's not all, you also get this carrion husk. And Flake's like, where the fuck did that come from? He's like, did you have that the whole time? And Brody's like, I opened it like pack 3 and just, you know, hit it. Like, yeah. I love this kid so much. It was a great bit.
He's got a good poker face.
He does. He's got a good poker face. He likes to have a good time. He's actually, like, his sociability, like on a mic and stuff for his age, is incredible. So yeah, I think, you know, one, he has a bright future in games if he wants one. And
yeah, no, I will always remember the first time I met Brody. And I was playing him at a calling. No, I was playing him at a calling. He was on Viserai. I was on Starvo. We just had a very close game. I got the victory at that particular event, but when it was over, like, he immediately, like the moment the game ended, right, wanted to talk about like how the matchup went. You know, what lines did he, you know, think that he could have taken better in that scenario? What did I do to play around it? Like, he was immediately like, hey man, like, great game. Let's talk more about the game. Just full enthusiasm. And that has always stood out to me. I've never had any other player, like, everybody's a great, you know, opponent. I've never had anybody like super salty or whatever. But when he was like, hey, that was cool, now let's dive right in, it was just like, wow, you're my spirit animal, because nobody ever wants to do this with me.
That's and like, so he has a bright future in playing the game if he wants one. He has a bright future in casting the game if he wants one. And honestly, he probably has a bright future in designing if he wants one. The kid's got a great brain. And I honestly, the reason that we stand Brody Spurlock is he is an S-tier human with a great grasp on everything. And if you have a chance to go up and just talk to Brody at some event, go talk to Brody. Your life will be better for it. It's a guarantee. He's just a good kid. I know I tried to get out of here once already, but we're going to try again.
Yeah, we have plugs.
We do have plugs. So if,
oh, you did. Oh,
I did. I put it there. So, we have a code now.
Oh no, that's not what I was talking about.
What I do now?
Okay, so what you did was you copy and pasted the same bullet points from the previous week.
Of course I did.
Well, what you didn't notice was week 1 of you giving me editing privileges, I changed it to closing pugs.
Oh, you motherfucker.
Because I love pugs.
God damn it, you did. I should never trust you. Like, this is why. Why do I do this to myself? This is bullshit. At any rate, we have a fucking promo code now.
Yeah, we do. Hooray!
So yes, you can go to realmgamingnetwork.com and use our code FAP5, which might be my favorite code ever, to get 5% off your singles, any purchase, I believe, but I know it's at least singles, through the month of August. So starting whenever you hear this and then through the entire month, you can use FAP5 to get 5% off at realmgaming.com, realmgamingnetwork.com or realmgaming.com. You know,
I believe it's network.
Network. Yep. It's just hot keyed on my browser.
Yeah.
If you want to email the show, you can email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. If you want to find us on X, Twitter, whatever you want to fucking call it, you can find us there at FleshPod. All these links will be in the show notes. You can also join our Discord. That link will be in the show notes. It's really the easiest way to get a hold of us. We're very active in there, letting people know what's going on. It's where we find all of our listener questions for the most part and everything else. We also want to take a moment to thank our patrons. Now, I did something that I haven't done in a very long time, and I forgot to have the patrons pulled up ahead of time. Of course, I'm an idiot. So let's find out here. Oh, yeah, it's an audience tab now. That's so dumb. I got to sort all of this right now. You know, I should just pass this to you instead of make me feel awful about it, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and keep this going the way it is because I'm dumb. So our associate producers are Andy, Kenny, and May. Our executive producers on up are C-Dubs, Josh, Lance Goodthrust, Matt Two Tokes, Opa Mike, Alex, Philip, Rich, Taylor, and Trevor. If you're interested in becoming a patron of Flesh and Pod, you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. The link is in the show notes. I'm actually going to tell you how many tiers we have now. So hold on just a second. We have 6 tiers for you to choose from. So there you go. Charmer, where can they find you?
You can find me at that Charmer. That's Charm3R on... No.
Oh.
On Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else. Ever. I'm also just Charmer on Twitch. I'm Charmer on YouTube. You can find me in the Flesh and Pod Discord. If you have not joined it, you should, because there's a lot of good people in there and we have a good time. And if you want to watch live coverage for card games, you can probably find me doing that. I seem to be really branching out this year and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So, you know, and if you want me to cover your card game and I don't, ask broadcasts and tournament organizers and I can make it happen.
Yeah, and for me, you can find me at Logan Peterson on Twitter. I'm also the person on all the Flesh and Pod socials, so find me there too. And then in the Discord as well. So, well, that's all I got for this week. So, all right, until next week, everybody. Well, I'll be probably broadcasting from on location. I will talk to you all next week. Bye.